What's up, everybody? Going down this weekend, we got up here UFC Vegas 116, Sterling versus Halal. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I know some of you guys are doubting this entire card here, but man, this card, in my opinion, is kind of stacked. Some fights that are very interesting. Some fights where I think are kind of dumb, but at the same time, are going to be fun. It's good. It's a good Apex card. Is it one of the best Apex cards of this year? Absolutely not. But is it a decent card? Yeah. Overall, I rank it a 7.5 out of 10. These fights are very interesting. But without any further ado, we will get started with the video. Up first, we got up in the strawweight division. We got up is Talita Alencar versus Julian Polastri. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This is a winnable fight for either fighter. Alencar, her style fighting, she doesn't have really good striking. Her head movement's not there, and her jiu-jitsu is what really comes down. But I don't think her striking is that good. But Julia, her style, she's a very good Muay Thai fighter. Very good hands, has decent takedown defense. And I'm curious to know is if Polastri will win this fight or use the takedown defense, because we've seen Alencar in her fight with Stephanie Lucano, and we've seen how poorly she looked in that fight. And her most recent win against Andre Polastri, she did look pretty decent in that fight. Got her first submission win in the UFC. Like I said, her jiu-jitsu is what comes down and is what is very good about her style. Is really good about her. You can see that in her fight with Rana Del Santos. Her jiu-jitsu looked really that good. But let's look at Polastri. She came in the UFC, lost to Jafel and Kanatsi, beat Corey McKenna, beat Lumpy Gudinas, which she didn't necessarily do really horrible in that fight against Lumpy Gudinas. And then she beat Carolina Kalotwich, which is a very good win because I'm not saying Carolina did fight for a world title at one point, if I'm not mistaken. Listen, I think Talita Alencar is going to come out and start off very strong in the first with the grappling, but I think the longer this fight goes, the more that favors Julia, and I think Julia is going to get the decision win here, people. Like I said, Talita could get the job done by a submission, but I believe the first round is where she may shine. Then the second and third round, she's going to get very tired and possibly lose that fight. Like I said, in her fight with Stephanie, aka the rematch after she had a draw in the Contender Series, she looked kind of poorly in that fight. She didn't. The takedowns weren't really that good, and her defense but Stephanie's defense looked very good in that fight. And I believe that what Julia needs to do is that she can't just go out there pressuring her with a striking, because she can instantly swoop one of those combinations, whatever she's throwing, and then she can go for that takedown and trap her there for the entire round. Because that's how Alencar kind of works. But either way, I don't think she will be swooping punches like that. Because like I said, her head movement is very bad. When I mean very bad, like it's not even that good. She doesn't have the footwork to be nice and moving around on the feet. Because sometimes you need that. Because if you don't have good head movement, you're going to get hit a lot. And I believe that Alencar is going to get hit a lot. If she can't land that one takedown in this fight, she's going to get knocked out. Even though it's rarely to see women fighters get knocked out, but she may get knocked out, guys, because Polastri, her Muay Thai style is very effective. Her boxing in general is okay, very decent. Give it like a 6. But I think Polastri is going to win. Like I said, Alencar needs to keep this fight on the ground at all costs. Keep her there. Probably. I feel like she's got to make it boring. What I mean by that is that lay on top of her for like the entire fight. Even though it's going to be very boring, but like if she wants to get the job done, that's probably her only way to victory, is if she makes it a boring fight and lays on top of her. But now we move up in the welterweight division. We got up here Max Griffin versus Victor Valenzuela, aka Double V, bro. That's what I call him. Victor Valenzuela, he's a very good fighter. Has a very good high finish rate, very good striking, very good kicks, decent grappling. Looking at his fight against, look at his last 4 wins have been very impressive, and then recently beat Shinaki like legit 2 weeks ago. And then before that, I did lose to Michael Oliveira, which Michael Oliveira is very vicious, has insane knockout power. And and it was crazy that Victor Venezuela is getting a fight booked in the UFC before Michael Oliveira, because Michael Oliveira has not got a fight booked in the UFC yet. And I don't know what the UFC is doing. The UFC is not using their brain. But as for Max Griffin, he's a veteran, long ragey, very technical. At first, I thought he was going to get knocked out in the first round, but as I'm looking at his fights, we're going to look at his last 5 fights. He beat Tim Means, Tim Means is a veteran of the sport. Then he went 3 rounds with Michael Morales, which I think Michael Morales has improved with his knockout power ever since he had those decision wins over Max Griffin and Jake Matthews. But hey, he still went 3 rounds with Michael Morales. Not a lot of the top dudes are even surviving the first round with Michael Morales. Then he beat Jeremiah Wells. Split decision. Look, 2 split decisions, and they were actual split decisions, guys. Yeah, look, got choked out by Michael Chiesa, which Michael Chiesa's grappling is very underrated, but he was kind of getting pieced up with the striking a little bit. Michael Chiesa, he's a decent striker, but he's not necessarily prioritized as one of the best strikers. Then fought Chris Curtis, which, mind you, that was Chris Curtis's first time at 170, so we can kind of give Chris Curtis the exception of that split decision. But Max Griffin, guys, he has a good chin. Is it one of the best chins? Not necessarily. I know a lot of you guys are saying that Max Griffin will get knocked out in this fight, but I believe that he could survive if he keeps his distance. If he needs to keep his distance by popping that jab, using the leg kicks, affecting Victor Venezuela. But Victor Venezuela, one thing, the problem is about this fight is that Victor Venezuela is always in your face 24/7. He's always trying to attack. There's not one time where he's not backing down. He's always going at you. And I believe that's where it may be the problem here for Max Griffin. And Max Griffin isn't necessarily the most active guy on the roster. Look at it. Fought 3 years ago. Fought like 2 years, about a year, and then about like 8 months. But like Max Griffin's just not very active. Victor Venezuela, I'm gonna be honest, is pretty active, man. Obviously, he wasn't very active at the beginning, but then once he lost, but then he's active because he only fought 2 weeks ago. His last fight was about 2 weeks ago, and I don't think they're doing Max Griffin a favor here. But okay, we're gonna give him this short notice fight at him being 40 years old against a guy named Victor Venezuela. Guys, they're not doing Max Griffin a favor here, guys. Matter of fact, in any case, they may be just trying to push Max Griffin to retire. Because I do believe he should eventually retire. Obviously, he's a veteran. He's not one of the best veterans of the UFC. Not the worst veteran. He's 8-10. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Victor Venezuela. And I'm going to be honest, guys. I think he's going to get the decision win here, guys. You guys may think I'm crazy, but like Max Griffin I'm not saying it's mainly his chin. He's a very technical guy, so sometimes, and his defense is very good. So sometimes it could be very hard to knock him out. You could ask Chris Curtis that, but I just believe that he's not going to win this fight. He may get dominated. I believe he could possibly compete because obviously he's a veteran. But I just don't see Max Griffin winning this fight, guys. And that's what I'm going for. Victor Venezuela by a decision. Next up, we got Jafel Filho versus Cody Durden. Man, Cody Durden, I think he's dropping a ball by taking the short notice here. And I believe that he will get submitted in the first round here. Listen, he didn't look that impressive in his last fight at UFC 326. Before that, he got beat. But don't get me wrong, he was actually doing pretty good against Alan Nascimento. Lost to Jose Acheo, which Jose Acheo is a very good striker. Lost to Joshua Van, but to be fair, Joshua Van is currently the world champion right now. Then beat Matt Serrano. Matt Serrano, guys, he's not that good as what people claim he is. And then as for Filho, he lost to Muhammad Mokoyev. To be honest, man, he almost got Mokoyev out in that fight. That's how vicious Filho is. Then he beat Daniel Barris, beat Odie Osborne, who's a good striker, good takedown defense. Then he lost to Al Nascimento. I feel like in that fight with Phil kind of dropped a huge ball on that one, guys. I feel like he could have possibly win that one, but like there were a few times where he made a few mistakes in that fight that was very bad. Then he did make us come back by beating Clayton Carpenter, which, to be fair, Clayton Carpenter has a very good ground game. So for Philo to submit Clayton Carpenter is very impressive. But Cody Durden, man, I feel like he's almost on his way out. And the fact is, he's 35 years old, almost 30, going to be almost 36. But I believe Philo is going to be a problem. His submission game is very dangerous. I don't care what any of you guys say. I think this is a future world champion right here. One day, I do believe that Philo will become a world champion. But I think him beating Cody Durden is what's going to get him a top 15 fighter. Even though Cody Durden is on a 4-fight losing streak, is kind of washed. You can't lie. I feel like I'm starting to think Philo kind of deserves it. But now we move up. We got up in the women's bantamweight division. We got up here is Mayra Bueno Silva versus Michelle Montague. If I said that correctly, I guarantee I probably did it. Bueno Silva has not been looking that impressive. She had a no contest to Hallie Holm after failing a drug test. Then she got an instant title shot against Raquel Pennington for the vacated bantamweight belt, which I think that was after Amanda Nunes had retired. Lost to Macy Chiasson, lost to Jasmine Genuvius, and then most recently lost to Calvinati. I thought Bueno Silva was going to be a future world champion one day. Her submission game was very good. But ever since she got tested positive for that drug test, she just has not been looking good. Riding on a 4-fight losing streak, guys. With Michelle, she has decent grappling, good striking. Is she one of the best fighters on the roster? I don't think so. I'm kind of surprised she's getting a fighter, Bueno Silva, just because looking at her performance against Luana Carolina. It was good. There were times in that fight where Carolina was winning that fight. But I'm going to be honest, guys. Give me Michelle to win this one by a unanimous decision, 30-27. I don't think Bueno stands a chance. Bueno, the only way she's going to win this fight is if she submits Michelle, which I don't think that may happen. Which also that could happen because Michelle, we have to see how good she is with her submission defense. But before outside the UFC, she was in the PFL, Bellator, submitting all her last 4 opponents before that by a rear naked choke. Which, to be fair, I think she has a vicious rear naked choke, and she could possibly also submit Bueno Silva too. I wouldn't be surprised, but Bueno Silva, guys, has a very good submission game, and I just don't believe she's going to submit the submission Bueno Silva at all in this fight. But now that will be my final pick. Like I said, Bueno can only win this fight if she submits her, which I guarantee she may get damaged very bad in under 1 round as well. Next up we got up here is Dumas versus Jackson McVey. Now, I've been going a little back and forth with this fight, guys, because McVey, he kind of had some hype coming into the UFC. He had some very impressive wins. Obviously, not the most hyped, obviously, but he has some hype. But then when he came in the UFC, he got submitted by Bruno Ferreira, and then also got submitted by Zach Reese. Here's the problem with that. Recently, both Bruno Ferreira and Zach Reese recently got exposed. He got exposed by Gregory Rodriguez. He got exposed kind of by Michelle Pereira. And also, mind you, neither of these guys are prioritized as submission artists. Bruno Ferreira has like a few, and then Zach Reese only has like what, 2? If I'm not mistaken, 2 to 3. I don't even know how much he actually has, but he does not have that much. So for the fact that he got submitted by Zach Reese, but to be fair, McVey was putting the beats on Zach Reese before he got submitted, but still easily submitted by a guy who's not that good at submitting people. But let's look at Dumas. Dumas, he lost to Nuzaboyev. Then he beat Denis Trulin, which is very wild to beat Denis in a unanimous decision. Then he lost to Michelle Olechecha, which, to be fair, Olechecha has some very good and underrated striking. And they had that no contest with Zach Reese. Then most recently, he lost to Dante Johnson. But Dante Johnson, guys, is a good fighter, but he's not also prioritized as a submission artist, too. Listen, this is a little bit of back and forth. The resumes are not that good. Dumas is 3-4. He's 0-2. But give me Dumas to get the decision win here, guys. You guys may think I'm crazy, but like McVey's getting submitted by dudes who aren't even. Well, I'm not saying they're not good. These guys are good, but like by fighters who aren't prioritized as a submission threat. That's very concerning. And it's kind of even though looking at Dumas' record too, they're both very concerning. I just don't see McVey winning this fight. And I do believe after this fight he will possibly get kicked out of the UFC. If he wins this fight, though, that's if he loses this fight. If he loses this fight, he may get kicked out. But if he wins, he possibly won't, depending on how the fight is. If it's boring, then they'll probably may kick him out. But if it's not, then they'll keep him. And I feel like it's the same thing for Dumas. This one makes the fight interesting because either. Whoever loses this fight is probably getting cut from the UFC. I don't care what any of you guys say. These two are getting cut from the UFC. And I'm going to be honest. I don't want that for either fighter. Because I like both fighters. You guys may think I'm crazy for that. But they're good styles. But theirs has not been looking that impressive. But give me Dumas to win this fight. But I do believe Jackson McVey can possibly win this. If he goes for an early submission. Uses his knees. Uses those clinch. Have that Muay Thai pressure on Dumas. And I do believe that's how he will win this fight. But like I said, give me Dumas to get the decision win here, 29-27. Next up, we move up in the featured bout of the prelims. We got up is Rodolfo Ferreira versus Eric McConico. Now, this is a fight where I've also been going back and forth with this. Because McConico, looking at his debut, he lost to Rizboyev. Rizboyev has very good striking. I had a split decision over Cody Brundage. You guys can argue that he won. You guys can argue he lost. Either way, he won the fight. I feel like he won the fight either way. And then did lose to Zernikanov. But to be fair, guys, there were times in that fight where he was controlling the pace with the striking. And he was beating Zernikanov before he got checked and got knocked out. If I'm not mistaken, it was in that third round. But Ferreira, man, I don't know. Ferreira, he came up with over Cody Brundage, beat Armin Prashanyan, then lost to Andre Peroski, which Andre Peroski has not got a win ever since then. Very surprising. Looked okay against Treson Gore. Even though I think that may be his biggest win. But Treson Gore looked fat and missed weight in that fight. And then he did lose to Bo Nickel. Listen, his last 3 fights against Bo Nickel, Treson Gore, and Andre Peroski, he did not look that good at all. Like, listen, Treson Gore missed weight, and I get it. You guys might think, oh, that's his biggest win. But if you guys watch the fight, you guys see how poorly he looked in that fight. Obviously, Treson Gore looked very good in his last fight against Asmat Bakoyev. Pulled up an upset, which was, I wasn't surprised that he won. I was surprised that he just did that in the final round. But Treson Gore is a good fighter, guys. But I'm going a little back and forth because McConnell, he has, in my opinion, has a very underrated head kick. And we've already seen Ferreira get knocked out by Bo Nickel with that very impressive head kick. So it's 50-50, but give me McConnell to knock him out in the last round. Second or third round, I believe he's going to get a third round stoppage here, guys. It's a 50-50 fight. I like the fight. I know some of you guys are saying, what the hell is this fight? But in reality, it's a very good fight. Obviously, and also, mind you guys would think that Ferreira's probably going to submit it, but Meccano has a good submission, has very good submission defense, and he also has some good takedown defense. He's never got submitted at all his entire career. You've seen him survive the submission threats, even in his fight with Zernikanov. And I just believe he's going to put the break. I think he may beat the brakes off of Rafael Ferreira, and I believe that's what's going to happen in this fight. Next up, we move up to the opener of the main card. We got his Marcus Buchecha versus Ryan Spann. Very interesting here. Buchecha, man, I'm not no hater. I don't hate Buchecha, but he's not built for the UFC, guys. He's just not. Looking at his debut against Martin Dubé, that fight with Martin Dubé, man, that was just horrible work, guys. And mind you, Dubé got cut from the UFC, And then his fight that he had outside the UFC, he got knocked out by some random dude, if I'm not mistaken, in 1 round. So that just proves on how Buchecha really is. Then he had a draw against Kennedy Nakachinu, which I am very surprised. He's in the heavyweight division. We're in this new day and age where I don't know how his grappling doesn't work against heavyweight. Dubé, man, his takedown defense is not that good. Nakachinu, he's not prioritized as a very good takedown defense, but it's like it's just not working. He's very obvious. His striking base is not that good. It's like a 1 or a 2. But like I'm not saying he reminds you of it, but like look, he came from the one championship, and you know who else came out of the one championship that used a lot of wrestling? Ben Askren. And Ben Askren, guys, had no striking ability whatsoever. Marcus Buchecha probably has maybe a little bit better striking than Ben Askren, but his striking ability is not that good. And Ryan Spann, you know, there was a lot of questions. Him at 205, lost to Anthony Smith, got knocked out by Bogdan Guskov, but to be fair, Bogdan Guskov is very good. But then once he moved up, he had a very impressive win over OSP. If I'm not mistaken, that was at heavyweight. Then he did lose to Waldo Cortez-Acosta, but there were times in that fight where he was picking his shots and was kind of getting Waldo with the striking. And then he did beat Lucas Boreski, who Lucas Boreski's not that good, but he looked amazing in that fight. I'm going to be honest, guys. Give me Ryan Spann to knock him out in the second round. I believe the first round is where Buchecha may survive, but then after that, he's going to lose. I do believe that after the first 2 rounds, if Ryan Spann doesn't knock him out, that's where Buchecha may shine in that final round. That's because you see Ryan Spann kind of be explosive a little bit in the first 2 rounds, but then you can kind of see in that Anthony Smith fight, that final round, he kind of wasn't really throwing heavy combinations like that. And I believe that's where Buchecha needs to realize is after that 3rd round, he could probably, not saying easily submit him, but he could possibly get the win by 1 round, because in this day and age, if you have 1 good round and that's that final round, and you lose like almost every round, majority of the time, if it looks very impressive, that may shine the judges to give you the win, and he possibly may do that. But Marcus Buchecha has a 100% finish rate as well. 1 win by knockout, 4 of them being by submission, and I think that 1 win was by like a grounded pound. Was by a grounded pound. But I just don't think Buchecha's gonna win this one. I think he'll have success back if he goes to the one championship. But I just don't think he'll have any other success in the UFC, especially in this fight with Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann's heavy combinations. I feel like Ryan Spann's kind of like maybe a little bit of a better version of Jeremy Stephens. Jeremy Stephens, he's a type of dude where he'll try to find that one knockout power. So does Ryan Spann, kind of. But Ryan Spann's different. He sets it up. I feel like Jeremy Stephens is that type of dude where he'll just try to find it. He'll just wait for openings. And I just don't think that Buchecha is going to be able to handle that type of power. I really don't. Like, even look at it, like, but I do believe if Buchecha can just keep him on the ground, and Ryan Spann can't get back up, I believe he will win the decision. But now we move up. We got up is Montel Jackson versus Ronnie Barlecos. Man, this is a 50-50 fight, guys. I'm very hyped for this fight. It's very good. Looking at Ronnie's fights, he did lose to Kyler Phibbs, which was not a bad loss at all. Then he went in to beat Christian Guartanes, which Christian Guartanes is very overrated. Then he beat an underrated prospect, Peyton Talbot. Looked very dominant in that fight. Was probably one of the biggest upsets of the year, and won the fight. Then he beat Cody Garbrandt and beat Ricky Simone. He looked his three, even though he looked decent in that fight with Christian. But like, I'm talking about his last 3 dominant decisions against Payne Talbot, Cody Garbrandt, and Ricky Simone looked very amazing. I feel like Ronnie is that type of dude where he has kind of a late prime. Sometimes that happens to fighters. I believe that's going on with Sean Strickland. But he has a late prime, and I do believe that he's a good fight. He's a very good fighter. But Montel Jackson is a good fighter as well. He beat Julian Arsh, went in and beat Ronnie Yaya, beat Damone Blackshear, beat Daniel Marcos, lost to Davidson Figueroa, which I feel like a good fight where you're gonna possibly win. You know, it was not. I don't believe it was a split decision, but like, man, looking at that fight, Montel Jackson, he's the type of dude where he does not. He tries to like. We can legit wait a whole year for this man to finally throw a punch. He waits so long to throw that right hand. I feel like that's kind of the problem, Montel Jackson, bro. You literally look at the fight and it could be a whole year and we're still waiting for him to throw a punch. And that's what I don't like about him. But if he can land that punch, because Ronnie, he's the type of dude where he sways a little bit, and sometimes he's a little slow. So sometimes if you're swaying too much, a right hand can just catch you off guard out of nowhere. That's where Montel Jackson needs to see. But Ronnie Barlekos has very good striking. He's a very good outside fighter, even though he is the shorter fighter here. But like his outside work and his inside work is very good. Very good grappler. And I believe he's going to win a 29-28 split decision here. I'm going with the old school guys. I would get why Jackson is kind of the favorite here. Unlike looking at these odds, more people think Barleko's going to win. But supposedly by like the odds here, he's a favorite, which is kind of surprising. I would get why Montel Jackson's favorite. He still is young, but like he needs to improve and not just wait a whole year just to throw one punch, man. You can't just wait 1 year to throw one punch, and that's what I don't like about Montel Jackson. And I believe he's going to lose this fight by a 29-28 split decision. Next up, we move up in the bantamweight division. Yeah, give me Davey Grant to win this one, guys. Davey Grant is very chaotic, and I just do not believe Luna will be able to handle that. Obviously, he had his fight with Mark Vologden, which was one of the greatest contender series fights of all time. And we just seen Mark Vologden fight and had a very good fight against John Castaneda. Obviously, it was a draw, but it was still a very good fight. There have been a few times in Davey Grant's career where I have thought that he won these fights, but in reality, they didn't give him the win. His fight with Daniel Marcos, I thought he won that fight. Even his fight with Andre Yanis, his fight with Chito Ferreira, those are fights where I kind of thought he won. But let's take a look at his wins. He did beat Raquel Asacano, beat Roman Charvis, beat Damon Blackshear. Damon Blackshear has very good striking, and to be honest, guys, I didn't think he was going to win that fight. Obviously, I didn't think he won against Charles Jourdain because he got submitted. But Luna, he kind of almost lost against Mark Vologden, guys. Mark Vologden, he's a good fighter, but he's very small for the weight class, and I feel like Davey Grant is kind of small too. He's just very chaotic, very vicious, and I believe he was going to get overwhelmed. But the problem is I have with this fight, guys, is that if this somehow for Davey Grant, they still somehow be a split decision, he still wins a split decision. But that's why I think I'm afraid they're gonna rob Davey Grant in this fight, guys, because I like Davey Grant. But he's probably one of the most fighters in the UFC that gets robbed a lot. And then and on record, for whoever doesn't watch the fights, they're gonna be like, Davey Grant's not that good. He's always winning these split decisions. And in reality, majority of the times he's dominating, but judges are just freaking so stupid. That's what I don't like about judges. Because, like, let's say you want to prove somebody that they're a good fighter, but then they don't watch the fight and it's check on record. Oh, it's split decision, but in reality it wasn't. They're going to be like, he's not that good then. That's why I don't like about what judges do. And majority of the times, judges be like that. It's just a bunch of bullcrap that judges do. But I just believe that Davey Grant's chaotic style, he's going to use a lot of elbows, a lot of knees, a lot of clinch work, a lot of him being aggressive, and I believe that's going to overwhelm Andre Luna Martinetti, and I believe that Davey Grant will win a decision win. Next up, we got a Rafa Garcia and Alexander Hernandez. Man, guys, this fight is very good. Probably two of the best prospects in the UFC. I think Rafa Garcia is probably number 3. He's number 2. Number 1 is obviously Quillen Salkit. Hands down, that is without a doubt. But the problem is I have with this, because we've seen how, I'm not saying how easy for it is, but we can see how it could be to knock out Rafa Garcia. You can ask that, you can see, if you saw that fight with Grant Dawson, it was kind of wild because I didn't expect Grant Dawson to win that fight. And then, but he did have a rise back with him beating Vinicius Peniel, and then him beating Jared Gordon, which Jared Gordon has some very underrated boxing. I was very surprised on how that on that Rafa Garcia won that fight. But looking at Alexander Hernandez's fights, he lost to Damon Jackson, then went in to beat Austin Herbert, beat Prince Hollowboy, beat Chase Hooper, and then knocked out Diego Ferreira. His last 2 wins against Chase Hooper and Diego Ferreira were very good. Listen, he beat Chase Hooper about almost a month. Then after that, he went in and took a short notice. As soon as that fight was over, this fight was scheduled because Diego Ferreira was supposed to fight on that same card as Alexander Hernandez. But then since Bobby Green got injured, the fight had to pull out. So instead they were going to fight on the Noche card, and then he did it. He knocks out Diego Ferreira. He just sleeps Chase Hooper and Diego Ferreira. I believe he will knock out Rafa Garcia in the second round. It's going to be a good fight while it lasts. I believe he could probably get like a doctor stoppage. But the problem I have with Hernandez is that his cardio has been shown that his cardio has not been really that good. You can see the first 2 rounds he's very explosive. But then after that third round, it just seems like he's kind of done. We've seen that happen to him before, and mind you, he was supposed to fight Michael Johnson at UFC 324, but I think it was like a bet where he betted himself to lose, and that's where I'm kind of worried about, cause if he bets again, and let's like hypothetically speaking, guys, if he loses this fight, I'm kind of worried that he probably place another bet on himself to lose the fight. That's why I feel like that is very concerning. Mind you, he's a favorite for the fight. So obviously, this time he's the favorite for the fight. I don't know if he was the favorite for the Michael Johnson fight, if I'm not mistaken. But if he places a huge bet on himself getting knocked out in the first round, he gets knocked out in the first round. That's kind of wild. But I don't believe he's going to do that again. I feel like he learned from the last time. And I feel like the UFC is going to be more onto him about that than because now that they found out that's what he did. But like I said, if Hernandez doesn't knock him out in the 2 rounds, he may get knocked out in that final round. But it's going to be a fun and entertaining fight between 2 prospects who are unranked. But now we move up. We got up the co-main event here. Is Norma Dumont versus Jocelyn Edwards. Give me Dumont by decision. Jocelyn Edwards, she's a very good fighter. She lost to Eileen Perez, which Eileen Perez is a good fighter. Then she beat Tarmas Vidal, went in and beat Chalissa Chandler, which Chalissa Chandler was not that good. Then she beat Padilla, Priscilla Tirana. Then most recently went over Norla Carolina. She looked really good. That she did fight her, mind you guys. She fought her before. They robbed her and she lost the fight. Which I'm not mistaken, Carlene was the favorite for the second fight, which I was very surprised. But Dumas, she's very experienced, even though she's her last 6 wins, I'm sick, have been by decision, all by decision. Her beating Carla Rosa, beating Chalissa Chandler, her beating Jermaine Jerami, her beating Irene Alda, her beating Calton Ferreira. But she's just very experienced. I believe she would give Kayla Henderson a tough fight if they were to fight. She probably may lose, obviously, but she, like I said, possibly can give her a tough fight, and I believe she will be Jocelyn Edwards. Jocelyn Edwards has very good submission game, but she has good groundwork too, and I believe this is where Jocelyn Edwards could get possibly also submitted, or she could probably just get dominated. Because Dumas, she has decent boxing, obviously not the best when it comes to like the boxing, but she has good striking, and I believe that's what's going to make her win this fight. But Jocelyn Edwards, I feel like the only way she can win this one is if she submits her or just keeps her on the ground and she can't get back up. But another thing I will say before about this, I think this is a title eliminator. And you guys are saying how does Jocelyn Edwards get a title shot after just getting the top 10? There's not that much options in the top 10, guys. Like, I'm gonna just show you guys real quick. Look, so we look at the top 10. We got Juliana Pena. She just lost. We do got Raquel Pennington. She hasn't fought in a whole year. We got Kettle Ferreira, Gangon Santos, Eileen Perez, Adrian Alden, Carla Rosa. These are all the top 10. But none of these guys really deserve to fight for the title. Maybe Ferreira, but at the same time, I don't think so. And I feel like these are probably. I feel like like I said, the winner of Dumas and Josh Edwards probably will get a title shot. Maybe after Kayla Anderson fights Amanda Nunes, I still want that fight to happen. I'm pretty sure everyone does, especially the UFC. That's probably one of the best women's fights to make in the UFC in this day and age. But I think Dumas is going to get the job done. Now we move up. We got the main event. Aljamain's my boy, Aljamain Funk Master. The Funk Master is returning back, fighting Yusuf Zalal. This is a fight I've been very wanting to see. Looking at Yusuf Zalal's record, he beat Billy Quiltila, went in and beat Jaron Aris, beat Jack Soar, beat Calvin Cater, and submitted Josh Emmett. His last 4 out of 5 wins have been by finish. Now looking at Aljamain Sterling's last few fights, he beat Henry Cejudo. Then after that, lost his belt to Sean O'Malley. Moved up and beat Calvin Cater. Lost to Montel Loyev. And then beat Brian Ortega. Here's what I think about where this is coming. So, if I remember correctly here, Aljamain Sterling hasn't beat a prime fighter since Petr Yan. If I'm not mistaken, because before he fought Henry Cejudo, he beat TJ Dillashaw, which TJ Dillashaw was already past his prime. Henry Cejudo came out of retirement. Calvin Cater was already past it after he took too much damage in that fight with Josh Emmett, and they had that knee injury from fighting Arnold Allen. And then he beat Brian Ortega, which Brian Ortega took already significantly too much damage. So look at. So the last fighter he beat in his prime, that was in their prime, was Petr Yan. And then the fighters that he fought that were in their prime, Sean O'Malley and Montel Loyev, because believe it or not, guys, Sean O'Malley's still at his prime. He lost. And Yusuf Zalal, I feel like he may be at the peak of his prime. This is a very good fight. I believe Yusuf Zalal, he has very good reflexes, kind of like Sean O'Malley a little bit, and we've already seen Adrian Sterling get knocked out brutally by Sean O'Malley. And that's why I feel like this fight is good. I do believe people are kind of sleeping on this fight. And I believe the only reason why, because this is in the Meta Apex. I'm tired of the UFC always shoving these type of fights in the Meta Apex. It's a good fight, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the Funk Master to get the job done by a decision. Like I said, it's 50-50 fight. Either fighter could win. But that will be the end of the video, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe button. Turn on notifications when you guys want to see when I upload. Thank y'all for 79 subscribers. I'll see y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace.